Alright guys, welcome back. Today's another load data video, so happy Friday, first things first. So today we're going to be doing this one on our 40 10mm 180 grain flat point bullet. So now this bullet has no lube groove, just kind of a plain Jane bullet. It does have a little bit of bevel to the base of it to make it easier for reloading, and then just a flat point. So it's a pretty standard bullet. We sell a ton of these. This is by far our most popular 40 cal 10mm bullet. So for these ones, our case overall length is 1.130, and for velocities, we should be anywhere between 800 all the way up to 1,050 feet per second. So now for powder selections, we chose the Winchester 243, which is one of my favorites, like always, because you're able to find it just about anywhere. Then we did the HS-6, the old trusty Unique, and then the accurate number 5. And then another thing I want to kind of note about this one is, so these ones specifically, we are going to do 40 Smith & Wesson through this Glock barrel, and this is a polygonal barrel rifling compared to traditional rifling. And typically, cast bullets don't really do well in polygonal barrels, but ours you can. So we're gonna show you this, that you can shoot our bullets through these barrels. Really common on all new Glocks. I think Gen 4 and 5, they all have polygonal barrels. And the difference between the two is the polygonal is more rounded and more of like hills and valleys in the riflings compared to a sharp edge of rifling like traditional style. Another thing that we also did here is to check our case overall length, we did something called a plunk test. So I have the barrel from the Glock here, and you can take one of them and you can drop it in the chamber, and you can see and make sure it spins around and see that you have a round that fits into the chamber according to the gun you're going to sit in. I know that they're good anyways because I'm under Sammy's spec, but just to double check that, you can make sure that they work for that barrel specifically. So we're gonna put our barrel back into our Glock and take these all out of the range and shoot them up. So we will meet you out there now. Alrighty guys, now we're out on the range. So now we're gonna shoot these up. Again, we're shooting these through the 40 Smith & Wesson. This is a Glock 22 Gen 4. And so to my knowledge, all the Gen 4s and Gen 5s have the polygonal barrel. And typically, like I said in the last little clip there, lead cast bullets are not the best in polygonal barrels, but they're different with ours. You can shoot our bullets through the polygonal barrels. So again, the Glock 22, 40 Smith & Wesson, the Gen 4. So we're gonna shoot these over the Garmin chronograph like always. Shooting at just right around 10 yards. So we're gonna be checking for velocity and accuracy here. So once we get all this data here, we will meet you guys inside and we'll talk about it there. Alrighty, so my initial thoughts on 40 Smith & Wesson in general was, it's a dying breed. Why do people shoot it? You know, there's so many other things out there that I would say were better. But now I kind of get it. So this thing was actually pretty fun to shoot. So we shot all these different loads through this guy right here. And this is the Glock 22 40 Smith & Wesson, but this is a Gen 4. So this has the polygonal barrel. And I spoke a little bit about that before in the beginning of this video, talking about the polygonal barrel and the traditional rifling barrel, and that typically speaking, you don't want to shoot lead cast bullets through polygonal barrels, but our bullets with our coating, or with the Hi-Tek coating, I should say at least, you can shoot those through a polygonal barrel. They did just fine in this. They have no leading in that barrel. So it was nice to see. And like I said, it was actually pretty fun to shoot. This thing fits really well in my hand. This one's like the 4.5-inch barrel. Especially on the lower side of the loads, which I'll talk a little about in a second here, were like no recoil. It was very, very enjoyable to shoot. So the 40 Smith & Wesson's growing on me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. So let's get into the data here. So our case overall length for these is 1.130. Our sectional density for this bullet is 0.160, and our bullet diameter, just like all of our 40 cals and our 10mm, they are sized to a 0.401. So then obviously for the firearm, we shot these through the Glock 22 Gen 4, and for our brass, we used Virgin Starline brass, and for our primer, we used a number 100 Federal primer. So that's our baseline. And for now, powder. So powder selections, we chose the Alliant Unique, the old trusty Alliant Unique. I know it's almost impossible to find right now, but it seems like everybody's always got it. The HS-6 by Hodgdon and Winchester 231, one of my favorites because going to a reloading shop, you'll see it there. It's always there. And then the Accurate number 5. So for velocity ranges, as you can see on this chart, we range anywhere from between 700 feet per second all the way up to 1,000 feet per second. That's just kind of where I wanted to stop at, was the 1,000 feet per second mark. I did have like 1 or 2 loads that were a little bit higher, but I just figured we'd not really include those in this data right now. So let's start with the first one, the Alliant Unique. This was our most accurate powder tested. That tends to be the case when the Unique is in the powder selections. It's always a good powder. They make good stuff. Alliant does. So that's kind of just the gist of that. But starting out 700 feet per second for our starting load at 3.8 grains of powder. Climbed it all the way up to 950 feet per second at the 5.1 grains of powder. And like I said, that was our most accurate powder through this specific firearm, which is the Glock 22 Gen 4, 4.5 inch barrel. The next powder that we chose, which is HS-6, we started this one at 750 feet per second at 5.3 grains of powder. And then we climbed this all the way up to our max, which was 1,000 feet per second at the 7.1 grains of powder. And that was our biggest charge out of all the powders at 7.1 grains of powder. The old trusty, my favorite, Winchester 231 started at 750 feet per second at the 3.6 grains of powder. And we rose it all the way up to the 1,000 foot or 1,000 feet per second mark at 5.2 grains of powder. And that's the one thing to note here too. So if you look at like the Alliant Unique and the 231, you get, it's a smaller charge and you can get, I guess, especially with the 231. So you at 1,000 feet per second, you can do 5.2 grains of powder instead of choosing like the HS-6 and being at 7.1 grains of powder. So that few extra grains adds up over quite a few different cases, and you might get a couple more loadings out of that. So that's kind of something to pay attention to. But on the flip side of that, case fill is important. A lot of guys try to get a good case fill or a higher case fill. Now to the last powder that we chose, which is the Accurate number 5. So this one we started at 800 feet per second. So for a starting was a little bit quicker than the rest of them at 5.5 grains of powder, and then went all the way up to 1,000 feet per second at the 7.0 grains of powder. So 7 grains flat. This, like I said, this bullet honestly surprised me. When I was like, oh, let's do the 40 cals now, or move into the 10 millimeter stuff. I was more excited for the 10 millimeter, but now I'm kind of intrigued by the 40 Smith & Wesson. Might try a few different bullets, and maybe just shoot them through the same one, or find a different gun, just give it a shot, see what they do there too. But as fun as it was always, this is another load data video for you guys. We appreciate you guys watching the video. Now I believe I am off to Kimball, Minnesota for the Minnesota State SAS shoot. So if you guys are over there and you're watching this video, I'm probably on the way over there, or maybe I'm already there. Make sure you come and say hi to me. I'll be around talking to everybody. So again, we appreciate you guys watching the videos. Don't forget to go like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.